JBN, we keep you informed. Man shot dead. Female injured in Windward Road gun attack. A man was shot dead and a female injured in a gun attack Wednesday morning on Windward Road in East Kingston. The deceased has not yet been identified. Reports are that sometime after 8 a.m., the man was in a grocery store when he was attacked by unknown assailants who opened fire, hitting him multiple times before making their escape. The man was pronounced dead later at hospital. A female was also reportedly injured in the gun attack. Her condition is unknown at this time. The shooting is being probed by the Elliston Road Police Criminal Investigations Branch. Woman faints and dies at Sangster Airport. A St. Mary woman who arrived on a Delta Airlines flight from Atlanta Tuesday afternoon collapsed and died in the immigration hall at the Sangster International Airport, one day after the island reopened its borders to the tourism sector. Evadne Sewell, reportedly from Boscobel, was traveling with her husband when she fainted while standing in line. Immediate action by nurses and a doctor assigned to the new protocol team at the airport saw them trying to resuscitate her with her mask on. After they removed her face covering, she remained lifeless. The Jamaican national, aged 62, was rushed to the Cornwall Regional Hospital where she was pronounced dead. A traveler who was in line with Sewell said that she seemed very happy earlier and was seen joking with other passengers. She was taken out of the airport on a stretcher. A passenger who was in line with Sewell said that Sewell was apprehensive about taking the COVID-19 test. Her husband even turned to her and tried to reassure her, said the passenger. In a media statement, Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton expressed profound regret on the passing of the Jamaican national. His ministry said that arrangements were being made for the deceased direct family members to access counseling. Protesters storm Oracabessa Station over police killing. Residents of Stewart Town in St. Mary protested for a second straight day over a police killing, storming the nearby Oracabessa Station on Tuesday and demanding to speak with a senior officer. Commander for the parish, Superintendent Bobette Morgan Simpson, and her team met with the mother and other family members of the deceased before addressing the angry mob. She succeeded in maintaining clear passage along the island's main North Coast thoroughfare. The killing of Savian Hines sparked protests on Monday, with residents using old appliances and other debris to block the road, cutting off traffic between Ocharias and Port Maria. Hines' mother, Carmen Purcell, is demanding answers about her son's killing, allegedly by the lawmen. After emerging from the meeting with the police on Tuesday, Purcell was still too emotional to speak in detail with reporters about what transpired a day earlier. It's sad. Me don't know what to do right now. Me want justice me pitney because them brutalize me pitney, she said. Me know me pitney and a gunman. Morgan Simpson urged the demonstrators to desist from blocking the road and allow the investigation to be completed. The matter is also being probed by the Independent Commission of Investigations. We just had a meeting with the family where both parties would have expressed their feelings, Morgan Simpson said. I sympathize with the family members based on the whole situation. Body found along shoreline in St. Thomas. The body of a man suspected to have drowned was found along the shoreline in the vicinity of the Princess Margaret Hospital in License, St. Thomas on Monday afternoon. He has been identified as 51-year-old Norbert Lewis, also known as Juki, of a licensed address in the parish. It is reported that about 1:45 children were playing in the area when they stumbled upon the body. The police were alerted. It is reported that Lewis was taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital Sunday evening to be treated for what the police described as an underlying illness. Family members say he was taken to the hospital for observation, and when they returned Monday morning, they were informed that he was treated and released. The police say there was no indication of foul play. Vaz got poor advice on Hollywell lease, say caretakers. The Jamaica Conservation and Development Trust, JCDT, has said that Portland Western Member of Parliament Daryl Vaz was ill-advised in seeking to obtain a 25-year lease that would have allowed him to construct a private cabin on protected lands in the Blue and Jonker Mountains, a World Heritage Site. Vaz came public amid outrage after the JCDT caretakers of the Holywell National Forest Park raised concerns about the National Land Agency (NLA) was leasing lands within the buffer zone of the Blue and Jonker Mountains lands. The NLA on Tuesday withdrew the offer to lease the lands for 25 years at $120,000 per annum. Vaz argued in a press statement that the proposed land use was in keeping with the already existing Holywell Park-type cabins, a reference to recreational facilities operated by the JCDT. Once he became aware of the objection letter from the JCDT to the NLA on June 11, the minister with portfolio responsibility for the environment said he immediately wrote to the NLA withdrawing his application. Offers were expected to be deposited at the NLA's Kingston offices by 1 p.m. on Tuesday and opened 15 minutes later. In defending his application, Vaz pointed out that there were many leases between the NLA and individuals or companies, including coffee farms, cafes, and dwellings in and around Holywell Park, in keeping with terms of the hold he sought on the 7.7-acre property. But JCDT Executive Director Dr. Susan Okawan charged that the minister got poor advice from the relevant agencies. Okawan said that trust plans to expand its recreational facilities were linked to the government's failure to provide adequate funding for its operations. It should be noted that we only receive about 30% of the budget of the National Park and World Heritage Site from the government of Jamaica, she said. However, would want to see partnerships, not individual approaches. Any existing lease or Holywell lands were either executed before the gazetting of the National Park in 1993 or without the JCDT's knowledge, she said. Man in prison for 50 years without trial pleads for freedom. Judge Williams used a gut-wrenching application to the High Court to pour out his soul about the nearly 5 decades he has spent in an infested maximum security prison awaiting trial and to make a desperate plea to win his freedom. I don't want to die like Noel Chambers before my matter returns to court, Williams pleaded in an emergency application that will be heard today by a judge in the St. Catherine Circuit Court. Chambers, 81, died on January 27 this year after spending the last 40 years in the Jamaican prison system awaiting trial for murder, a report by the Independent Commission of Investigations (INDECOM) has revealed. The late Rastafarian was incarcerated at the Governor General's pleasure in February 1980. After he was deemed unfit to plead to a charge of murder, he was subsequently declared fit to plead, but the case never made it back to court. Chambers' body showed evidence of chronic emaciation and was covered with bed sores, vermin bites, and live bed bugs, the report said. Williams is one of 7 mentally ill men identified in the INDECOM report who have each spent at least 40 years in prison awaiting trial. In an affidavit to the court, the 71-year-old who is incarcerated at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center opened up about the emotional anguish caused by countless broken promises that he will be taken to court soon. He also cited seeing the backs of numerous convicted killers who entered the institution after him. Williams was arrested and charged with killing another man during a violent attack on a family that was driving through his St. Catherine community of Mount Rossa in July 1970. But the then 20-year-old was declared unfit to plead, according to his attorney Isaac Buchanan and a family member. Williams, in his affidavit, claimed that he has not received constant psychiatric treatment during his incarceration, but said several times, the last being February 22 this year, he was declared fit to plead and told he would soon face the court. I feel so good, but every time I was disappointed until I learned that my fate may be to die in here before I ever see a courthouse again, he said. The elderly man charged that he has been placed in cells with convicted killers and recounting personally meeting Earl Pratt, the inmate who escaped the death penalty 3 times before he was freed in 2007 at the age of 48 based on a landmark ruling by the United Kingdom Privy Council. I witnessed in my 49 years in custody all types of death row prisoners being released from prison whilst I sit here hoping for my day in court. I pray I'll get to see inside of a courthouse before my dying day. The septuagenarian disclosed too that over the last couple of years, insects would feed on my body both day and night. My life for the last 50 years has been a living hell. Prison is not a bed of roses, he said. Up to late yesterday, Chief Prosecutor Paula Llewellyn said it was too early to indicate whether her office would oppose Williams' application. Llewellyn, the Director of Public Prosecutions, indicated that she had not seen a copy of the case file or the medical report, but said the length of his incarceration is heavily persuasive in respect of us not pursuing the prosecution. But we could not say that at this time until we have seen all of the information that is relevant, she said. All parties must try to expedite these cases, but we can't take any shortcuts. News of Williams' possible release stoked excitement for his younger sibling, Aldrin Jones, who plans to be in the courthouse for today's hearing. My expectation is that he'll be released to me. That's what I'm prepared for, Jones said on Tuesday. Seeing his brother freed, Jones said would mark the end of a long and frustrating journey. He recounted, as an example, back in 2003 when he had to personally care for his older sibling while they were both incarcerated at the St. Catherine prison. Jones was convicted for wounding with intent. It was at that time, he said, that one of the attempts to free Williams was made with the help of an attorney. The Spanish Town Court Office said at that time that they had no trace of the case, he said, explaining why that effort was unsuccessful. The following year, Jones said he learned that he was going to be transferred to the Richmond Farm Prison in St. Mary and pleaded with the prison authorities to give him a little more time at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center till me see the back of my brother I go through the gate. That request was denied, he said. According to Jones, the last attempt to win his brother's freedom was contemplated last year, but abandoned because the family could not reach an agreement with the attorney they were seeking to retain. Jones, who was 6 years old when the alleged crime was committed, said he could not recall details of the incident that landed his brother in prison. According to Jones, his brother, the second of 8 children for their mother, was born without any mental challenges, but migrated at an early age to Trenchtown, St. Andrew. He came back insane. The things that he would do, you could tell that something was not right, he said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.